I don't know what's crazier. The fact that I'm holding a $50,000 Les Paul Greeny, or that Puma was stupid enough to let me hold his Les Paul Greeny and not expect me to try and steal it. Unfortunately, he could kick my ass, but it'd definitely be worth it. So according to Todd, there's no way I could leave the Puma Compound with this guitar. Rather than fighting to the death, my death in particular, I shall thank Puma. Just breathe it in. Do I even have to tell you? Did you not recognize it from the mismatched knobs, the corrosion on the pickups, even a headstock gash with a serial number of 92208. People know that number, 92208, because it represents some serious rock and roll and blues history. You got a little bit of this dingity dang right over here, but more importantly, look at the buttocks of this beauty from all that belt buckle rash. What's that? Kirk Hammett. I could tell you about this guitar, but Google already did this morning when they bombed you with all of the 72 Seasons videos, when they told you that the man that is in possession of this relic, this gem, plays the wah pedal. Incoming news, by the way. The fact that Metallica is headlining every festival in the freaking world. And if it wasn't enough to sell out stadiums one night, they're gonna play 2 nights. Never the same song, nothing but hits. So you're gonna go the first night and you'll be like, where's Enter Sandman? Tomorrow. You just have to come back with the other 87,000 people tomorrow to see one Kirk Hammett play this guitar. But this isn't just any Greeny guitar. There are different levels of the Greeny guitar, especially if you're a Gibson aficionado like I guess I've become. I love them. This is the $50,000 Les Paul Greeny. Not to be confused with the $20,000 Les Paul Greeny or the $3,000 Les Paul Greeny, which, by the way, I'm telling you first, Puma and I are gonna do a review of this $50,000 beauty against the $20,000 Greeny, against the $3,000 Greeny. And if there's an Epiphone one, send it our way and we'll see. $50,000? Insert every troll here. Oh, the most overpriced Gibson. Is it though? Is the greatest reissue in the history of the company? That's just what I've been told. But let me tell you something. That tells me everything I need to know about this guitar. I can feel it literally vibrating right down to the cockles of my soul. It's kind of like a woman is giving birth and she's in 15 out of 10 level pain. Like a baby's about to rip out like the alien, except out here. And as it's happening, as it's wonderful life is being given to this child, as it's just pushing through to come into the world, this chemical that nature has designed called oxytocin is released. Do you know what it does? It makes it so when that baby rips out of you and is hurting you and you're bleeding, that instead of feeling vitriol and hatred and anger, that you take that baby, and as the oxytocin flows through your brain, you look at it and you bond and you love it with agape, unconditional love forever, because you have made that moment with that baby. Because that's kind of like the pain of $50,000 leaving my bank account and then opening up this wonderful, I don't want to just call it an instrument. I'd like to say a representation of music history. Oh yeah. There she is, guys, in all $50,000 of glory. We got a strap that seems to be covered in the Shroud of Turin. Strap locks. Kirk Hammett picks. The collector's edition Kirk Hammett Greeny, number 44. Signed by Mr. Kirk Hammett himself. Is it even worth $50,000? Probably not to you, because it's not an investment unless you can afford to buy it, are willing to sell it. I would not come up with the money and ever sell this, so it wouldn't be an investment for me. It would just be a really bad yet great decision. I'd probably have to move out of my house onto the streets, and surely my fiance would leave me with my kitties and dog. But I'd have a 1959 Greeny, and there's some solace in that. But is it worth it? Is it worth the $50,000? Is it that much better? Well, there's something called the law of diminishing returns. Do you know what that means? That the difference between a $200 guitar and a $500 guitar is monumental. The difference between a $500 guitar and $2,000 is extreme. The difference between a $5,000 and a $10,000 guitar, not as much. If you play one of these, if you're ever so lucky and you can't hear, see, and feel the difference, this was not made for you. And why $50,000? Why would Gibson be so overpriced to make it so no one can buy it? Exactly. But only 50 got this guitar at $50,000, and they were sold out immediately. Say you take someone like Tom Brady, and listen, I don't play soccer, I don't know anything about sports, but he gets a $100 million contract. Is he worth it? Well, if he puts over $100 million worth of people in the seats and sells the Nike or Adidas or Under Armour shoes and he generates that money, doesn't matter if it's incredulous. He's worth it. I remember the day that these went on sale, and I remember going on Reverb the next day and seeing them for $100,000. And believe it or not, people paid that. So if you bought this on a Friday for 50 grand plus tax from Wildwood, let's say, they're a great store. They'll help you out. On a Tuesday, you could have made 30 or 40 or 50 million dollars. I mean, thousand. The point is that that's a fictitious scenario because you can't have one because the idea was exclusivity. But if you did, you could have made a whole small fortune, which makes it a wonderful investment. And will it go down in value? Well, based on Metallica, I'm gonna say no, because they could still release Saint Anger and people still show up to stadiums and they're like, sorry, we don't really like that record, and everyone's like, that's fine, we'll still buy every other one, because they're Metallica. But the thing that's so amazing about this instrument is not just the fact that Kirk Hammett, from one of the greatest metal bands to ever walk the face of the planet, plays it all the time. Why is it called Greeny? Well, that stands for Peter Green from a band called Fleetwood Mac. One of the forefathers, or foremothers, if you think of Stevie Nicks, of rock and roll. And then, where did it go? Not to Kirk. It went to a guy named Gary Moore. Do you know who Gary Moore is? I'll tell you. When people say, Stevie Ray Vaughan was the greatest blues guitarist, and don't know who Gary Moore was, still having the blues up in heaven, I say, listen, don't be so emphatic. Go and listen to Gary Moore because he might very well be the greatest blues player ever. I don't know. Him and Stevie are rocking up there. But one of the things that the great Gary Moore did, besides play beautiful harmonies and wonderful leads, to create this patina, this proof of life, this awesomeness from the Murphy Lab, one of his guys accidentally turned around this pickup. The poles are both facing that way, which means that in the middle, where I never go, is out of phase. Now, I'm not a big out of phase guy. If you know what it means, it's competing frequencies that cause it to sound thinner because they're actually taking away. So when I record drums, I want everything to be in phase. But if you're a guy like Brian May, for example, or Jimmy Page, that weird quackity quack, that strange frequency cancellation that sounds like it's sucking into your brain, it's a thing. And until I played this guitar, I didn't know how amazing the out of phase sound of these two humbuckers could possibly be. But it just quacks and screams and does all kinds of strange sounds that I never knew could come from a Les Paul. And now I understand why Brian May put a little phase switch next to each pickup. I understand why Jimmy Page played all of those songs out of phase. Because of Gary Moore. Obviously. Because Gary. Who doesn't want a 1959 Les Paul? Who doesn't want one? This is a guitar that's been saying since 1959, I'm better than you. They're so loved that they only made 1,200 or so back in the day, and 2,000 survived. How is that so? Because this is the most faked guitar in history. This represents the next level of Gibson. That Cesar fellow, the guy after Henry VIII, he seems pretty cool. He like hangs out with Adam Jones and shows up playing with Robert Trujillo and Kirk Hammett. And I'm like, I don't know. What's up with that guy? I'll tell you what's up with him. He's luring Kirk back to Gibson, away from ESP for just a second, and saying, let's copy that beautiful, beautiful Les Paul. Let's make it available since everybody loves you, since Metallica is synonymous with ubiquitous. And let's make a guitar that's better than any other guitar that anyone's making right now, that feels like a 1959. And that if you can't afford $500,000 to $1 million, which is what it would cost you to get an original 1959 Les Paul, here's the next best thing. Except when I go, it's magic just like a 59. Truth be told, I was 3 days ago playing an ES335 from 1959. And how did it feel? I'm so glad you asked. Amazing. Serendipitous. I felt in tune with the universe. My vibrations were acting with everything around me. It was like a transcendental / existential / Buddhist / insane parapsychological experience. And then I came to the Puma cave. Just follow the van down by the river. Right behind it is another unmarked van, and inside lies all that you see here. I tell you about why I have changed my mind on aged guitars. Because the way that 59 made me feel is the same as the way this one does. They want it to be exclusive. Gibson's trying to do something where you can buy the $3,000 one, so everyone that loves Metallica can save up and buy a Gibson Les Paul. But if you want to be Batman, if you want to go fight crime one note at a time, buy this on a Friday, play Fade to Black on it 10 times, maybe some Seek and Destroy, sell it on a Monday, and become Batman. Why don't you smash that subscribe button already?